Being able to make an RC car from scratch may sound like a bit of a dream. Actually, it's easier now than you think. Now, with the growing popularity of 3D printing, making your own RC car from scratch these days is now incredibly simple. There's lots of websites out there which offer the 3D files, so you can actually go ahead and create your own RC car from scratch. Of course, you will need to buy the hardware, the electronics, and sometimes the tyres to go with the kit, but essentially, you can make an RC car from scratch using nothing more than a 3D printer, some filament, and a little bit of time. Now, this has been a dream of mine for a very long time. I've always wanted to create an RC car from scratch, but I never had the ability to do so because I didn't have a 3D printer. Now, going back to last month, everything changed. Bambu Labs have decided to sponsor the channel, and those guys have been kind enough to send me one of their flagship printers, the H2S. Basically, the guys at Bambu Labs have now given me the opportunity to do what I've always wanted to do, and that is to create an RC car from scratch. And today, we're going to attempt to do so. We're going to look around and see what options are available, because there are a lot of different options out there when it comes to 3D printable RC cars. We're then going to take a look at what materials we need, what hardware we need, and of course electronics options as well. So the first thing I need to do is try and find a suitable RC car that I want to create. Now, there's many different websites out there that you can visit and have a look at lots of different cars that other people have made. There's a really cool website called 3dsets.com. Now, these guys offer really cool detailed 3D models that you can actually print from scratch. There's 1/8 scale options on there. There's loads of different stuff on there. Now, they're not free. These you do have to pay for, but this just goes to show the level of detail that some of these 3D printed cars have, and you can recreate these for a lot less money than it would cost to actually go and buy a ready-to-run version, for example, from your local model shop. I mean, look at these things look really, really cool, but as you can see, they're not free. Now, I'm not going to be buying one of these today. I'm actually going to look for a really popular free option. There are some very, very cool cars out there, though. I mean, look at this. This is the FV01. This is something I am particularly interested in, and I was tempted about trying this to begin with. This is a 1/7 scale 3D printed RC car, an F1 car. This thing looks insanely cool. Now, I recently heard that these guys are actually producing an updated version of this, which is why I thought to myself, we'll put this one on the back burner for the time being and let's look at an alternative. Now, I've always wanted to own an RCF1 car. I never have, so I did think to myself, why don't I look around and see if there's a free option when it comes to an F1 car? And I stumbled across this, the Open RCF1 car. It's 1/10 scale. All the files are free. It's been created by a fella called Daniel. It has been around for a few years. There are some videos out there of people who have actually created this and updated it and everything else. I thought this may be a really solid choice as my first ever 3D printed RC car. So I've downloaded all the files, and in the files is a spreadsheet which is called the bill of materials. Now, the bill of materials actually lists all the different things that you need to actually get this thing created. Let's take a look at that now and we'll go through it step by step. Anything in blue is the hardware that you need to actually buy separately. Now, of course, on the first page here, you can see we do need to get some bearings. Now, you can purchase these separately, or sometimes you can actually buy a ready-made kit which comes with all the bearings that you need. Now, if you're in the UK, you can actually buy a bearing kit from the guys over at RC Bearings. That's where I'm going to be getting mine from. On the second page here is a list of the other hardware that we're going to be needing as well, and of course the quantities. So my initial plan was to actually buy the hardware that I needed from a UK based hobby store, but that was actually the more expensive option because you'll find that big brands overcharge for small packets of screws. So I looked online and I actually come across this website. Now, this is perfect for what we're trying to achieve here. This is a website especially for people who are actually looking to do projects in many different fields. This is perfect because we can actually get the hardware that we need for a much cheaper price. So of course, as we're doing this project, I'm going to give you an update on how much everything is actually costing. And of course, right at the end, I'll tell you exactly how much this entire project has actually cost to put together. So here you can see how much it actually cost me to order the hardware for this project. Now, I ordered enough to actually create 2 of these because I'm possibly going to create another one in the future. I don't think that price was too bad, and I think it would have definitely worked out more if I actually got got the stuff from a UK hobby store. Now, if you're looking at this thinking it's already getting too complicated, well, it's really not. And if you have a look on Daniel's website, there's lots of different links. Now, the top link actually takes you to a website called rcprinter.com, and they actually sell ready-made kits to actually complete this project. Now, as you can see here, we have the fasteners only. Here we have the fastener and bearing kit. And there's another kit which also includes a servo, and then the final one also includes a motor and ESC. Now, the motor and ESC in this kit is a brush setup. I'm obviously going to be going brushless, and I've actually chosen to order everything separately. But the good news is this kit is here. If you do want to go down this route to make it really, really easy, then the kit is there. Now, of course, most of the components we are going to be 3D printing, but we are going to be needing tyres for this project. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated because you've got two different options. You can either try to 3D print your own using a flexible TPU. Now, from what I've seen online, this is sometimes successful, it's sometimes not. My plan is to actually fit a brushless power system, and I want to do this thing properly. I want it to be usable, which is why I'm deciding to use some off-the-shelf tyres instead. Now, the alternative to 3D printing is to actually still print the rims, but then use Tamiya F104 tyres. Now, I've looked everywhere and I cannot find any in stock, which is why I needed to look at alternatives. Now, the good news is there are adapters you can print off which will allow you to use normal on-road wheels and tyres, which are 12mm hex. The problem is when you look at most 1/10 scale on-road tyre sets, they're both the same size, but because this is a F1 style car, I wanted the rear tyres to be slightly wider. So I did think, hang on a minute, there has to be some tyres out there that would work for this. That was when I remembered the FTX/HNR Stinger does actually feature wider tyres on the rear, which may actually work with this project. And they're pretty cheap as well, so I'm going to take a gamble and give it a go. Now, when it comes to the electronics, of course, there is a servo, which this kit is pretty much based around. That is going to be what I'm using as well. Of course, I'm going to be using my own transmitter and receiver. I haven't decided yet, but it's more than likely going to be a beyondRC receiver with my Radio Master MT12. Now, when it comes to the ESC and motor, the kind guys at SkyRC have sponsored this project. They have sent me one of their new systems to actually fit into this car. When it comes to the batteries, I'm going to be using Z-Lipos. Those guys have been kind enough to provide these for this project. Now, again, all of the parts used in this build will be linked down below in the description. So next I need to look at what filament I'm going to use for this project. Now, for the body components, I'm going to be using PLA Basic, and I'm probably just going to go for white. I think white's going to look really cool on this. PLA is probably the most popular 3D filament out there. It's really easy to work with. Now, for the chassis components, I'm going to be using some PETG. It's a little bit more flexible compared to PLA, but it's still really strong. Again, this should be perfect for this project. So let's make a start with printing this F1 RC car. Now, the two things I need to print first of all are the two chassis plates, the front and rear sections. Now, on Daniel's website, it does say that you have to adjust your infill settings with some of the components, and I did exactly that using Bambu Studio. What I've realised is it's incredibly easy for anyone to pick up a Bambu Labs printer and get printing right away. Using the actual printer itself and the software is so easy, I'm pretty sure anyone could do it. Overall, the process was really simple. I had no real issues with any of the components that I needed to print out, and I think the outcome looks pretty good. So here you can see I've now got all of the components required to actually get this thing built. That includes all of the hardware. Here we have all of the screws, the bearings, and of course the electronics that I'm going to be using. Printing some of the parts in PETG has given them this really nice finish. They're really shiny and very flexible, so that was definitely a good choice. And then of course printing the body components in PLA. As you can see, it's kind of more of a matte finish, but I think once all of this is put together, I think this is going to look really cool. And I really hope the wheels and tyres were a good choice, because if not, it's going to be difficult to finish this project. So let's make a start on this then, and to begin we need to join the two chassis plates together. So I've been really excited to actually make a start with this project. Now these two pieces should just slide together. Nice and simple. Now this is done, I'm going to assemble the rear axle using these components and of course some hardware. So let's get this done. So the first thing I'm going to do is insert the bearings. They should just slide right in. and thankfully they do. Next up, I need to insert the M3 nuts here and here. So the nuts were a little bit difficult to get in. I just used a screwdriver just to assist with pushing those in. Next, it's a case of inserting the axle. And then this is going to be ready to screw down. At this point, I realised there's no point talking you through the entire build process. Daniel's already done that, and again, over on his website, all of the videos are there. There's a complete build guide, and if you're interested in doing something like this, check those videos out because he does cover it in a lot more detail compared to me. Enjoy the rest of the build footage, and then we'll talk about some of the issues that I faced when I was actually building this thing. So I've got the electronics hooked up. I'm just giving everything a test. Now I do have a small issue with the rear axle. I've already snapped 2 of them. Now the first time I used PLA, that just seemed to shear off pretty quickly when I tested it out in the garden. I then printed it again with PETG. Again, that lasted a couple of minutes and then that sheared off as well. And this time I'm actually using PETG carbon fibre, which of course does have carbon fibre in it. Hopefully this holds up. Now already I've had some issues with the gearing on this build and I've had to go for an entirely different setup. Now the good news is if you look around online, you will find lots of different files out there. People have already created their own spur gears and pinion gears and everything else. Now I've printed off this spur gear. I've printed this in PETG, so that should be nice and strong. And as you can see, I am using a metal pinion gear as well. I'm hoping this setup works a little bit better compared to the stock setup. And initial testing, it seems that this setup is going to work okay. This is the smallest pinion I could find. I'm hoping it works okay and there's no cogging issues or anything else. On the bench here it seems to be alright, but you're never really going to know until you actually get the tyres on and get it out for a rip. Just for testing purposes, I have attached the front wheels with a single screw just to see how they fit and to see how this actually looks, and I think they look pretty good actually. Now I am going to have to print an adapter set off for this because I'm using my own sort of aftermarket wheels and tyres which aren't designed for this setup. Luckily there is an adapter set that you can print off and someone has already created that. I'm waiting for some screws to arrive. I'll get that kit fitted and then we should be good to go. So as you can see, I've now got the rear wheels fitted. We're going to hit the throttle, we're going to see what happens. Now earlier on when I had the PETG axle fitted, I was getting lots of vibration. The rear end was vibrating like crazy and I knew that wasn't going to be a long-term solution. Now that we're using the new filament, the carbon fibre, PETG, maybe that's made everything a little bit stronger at the rear. There's much less flex and hopefully we don't see much, if at all, any vibration. So let's hit the throttle and see what it does. So there is still a little bit of vibration. I'm not expecting it to be perfect. That is way better than it was earlier. It was probably 5 times worse earlier. I think that is going to work okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that's going to be all right. So I'm almost at the end of this project and so far it's been incredibly enjoyable, and even though I've had some issues along the way, it really wasn't difficult to actually fix them. This whole project from start to finish has been a real experience and I'm so glad I've done this because again it's something I've always wanted to do but I've just never really got round to doing it. I don't know what it is, but there's just something really cool about taking a bunch of files that you found online and turning them into a fully working RC car. I just find the whole process surreal. Of course there was one more thing to do and that was to fit the adapter set that I found online to actually allow me to fit my own wheels and tyres. This again was incredibly simple and actually this has been a lifesaver because without this I wouldn't have been able to have finished this project. So it's time to take a look at the final result. This is my fully 3D printed RC F1 car. So I've invested quite a lot of time into this one, probably more than I wanted to, but I think the end result is really good. I think it looks fantastic. Let me know what you think in the comments. So I've finally found a day where it's not actively raining. We can finally give this thing a little go. Right, let's give this a go on 2S. I'm slightly nervous actually. Just going to take it easy to begin with, just to make sure everything is working correctly. Steering seems to be okay. How cool. Just to be able to take some files online and turn it into a working RC car. I'm slightly nervous to hit the throttle. Now I'm going to have to go above a quarter throttle, otherwise what was the point of actually making this? Let's cut to about halfway. So that's about half throttle. Now this thing doesn't have any suspension, so it does feel a little bit bouncy. It's pretty smooth though, considering. That was about half throttle again. Very, very cool. I'm just glad the sun has finally come out so that we can give this a proper test. For the last, 6 days it has been raining continuously here in the UK. Really not good RC weather. I wonder if we can go up to full throttle. I don't know, I've just got a weird feeling something's going to break as soon as I hit full throttle. But again, what was the point of doing this if we're not actually going to test it to its full potential? Oh! I'm going to try my best to get a full throttle run out of this. I have got the GPS on it as well. Oh! Oh no! I see a wheel flying off. I see a wheel flying off. I think it may be all over. Oh no! I did manage to hit 25 miles per hour before the wheel come flying off. Now the good news is I've come prepared. I did bring a box of spares with me, and that's the great thing about a 3D printed RC car. You can just print off a handful of spares and you can be up and running again in no time at all. So we're back up and running. I think moving forward, I'm probably going to fit a gyro to this because it does become a little bit twitchy on full throttle. Now I haven't got the GPS on there now, I've taken it off because I just wanted to get a little bit of an idea how fast it is. I didn't build this thing to be fast. You know, I built it just as a bit of fun and just to sort of test out the capabilities of the 3D printer that I've got as well. The FTX wheels and tyres seem to be holding up nicely as well. So far, not too bad. Oh, lost another wheel. Oh no, it's still going, it's rolling across the road. I think just like the other side, the exact same part has failed on me again. I think I need to print that in a slightly tougher material. I think we're going to leave it there today with the running footage. I'm pretty happy with the outcome. And again, I've said it a couple of times in this video, being able to take files that you found online and turn them into a fully working RC car is a really, really cool experience. This thing needs some upgrades. I'm going to do that, and then I'm almost certain it will be making a comeback on the channel. So there we go then, what an experience from start to finish, selecting an RC car to print and all of the components, to actually building it and then getting it out for its first run. The whole process was incredibly enjoyable, so of course this isn't going to be at the same level of a shop-bought RC car. No, this is more of a casual project to keep you busy for a couple of days. Is it something that you could use every day? I think it could be, but it will require so many different modifications and upgrades. But what this is a fantastic little project that anyone can do that does have a 3D printer. This is just the start of my 3D printing journey. There's lots of other cars out there that I also want to try and print. I think for me, this was a good beginner project. I'm looking forward to actually doing some modifications and upgrades to this, and hopefully making it even better. I definitely need to reinforce some of the components before I can actually get a proper 2S run out of this. So of course we're at the end of the video and we can't end it yet. We need to talk about how much this would cost if you were to actually recreate this. Now of course Bambu Labs have provided the 3D printer, the filament, SkyRC have provided the electronics, and of course Z have provided the batteries for this project as well. So I've had a little bit of help with this, so it hasn't cost me that much. But if you was to recreate this, I'm going to give you a list of how much it would actually cost. So we'll start with the 3D files, of course, they are free. All of the hardware required, now remember, I actually got double because my intention was to create 2 of these. All of the hardware cost me around £21.15. The bearings were £4.20. Wheels and tyres £24.71. Now again, I didn't have to pay for the filament, but if you did, you're looking at around £56.97. Then we've got the micro servo, which is around £4.90. The motor and ESC combo, if you used exactly the same one that I did, which is possibly a bit overkill, is £53.34. The 2S Z lipos are around £27.16. And then finally a suitable transmitter and receiver, let's say the Dumbo RC X4 for example, that's around £24. So the total does come to £216.43. Now I know that is a lot of money, but for the experience that you're getting, I think it's worth every penny. And yes, you can buy a Tamiya F104 for cheaper. So let me know in the comments section down below what you make of this. Is this something you would do? I'm hoping to do more projects like this, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you've enjoyed today's video. Cheers for watching, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. If you want to see another really cool project that I did where I turned a gas-powered RC truck into a 12S beast, click the top video now, or click the bottom video to check out something else really cool.